church. You are my faith community and my teaching church. So I'm a student in seminary, many of you already know, and I'm taking a course on storytelling. And when Pastor Keary asked me to preach today and to preach on gratitude, I have to admit I had a problem because I've been struggling with gratitude. So I'm like, how can I preach to people who teach me every day more about gratitude than I know myself? So there's so much more that you guys know about gratitude that you can teach me. So I'm not going to preach. I'm going to tell you stories. I'm going to practice what I'm learning in my class, and I'll tell you what, it's not perfect. I'm learning. Hope you will be gracious. Because of that, in your bulletin, we have this yellow sheet. And during the storytelling, I don't want you writing in this. I want you watching up here and listening. But during, right before the offering, maybe you can give me a comment or two about what you like, what you didn't like, what you think is the main focus of my storytelling. And that will help me to learn how to do this better. Okay? Okay, now, when someone tells you a story, you need to know what to listen for. So I want you to think, I'm going to tell you 4 stories, Lord willing. And as I tell you 4 stories, think 1, what is similar between all of the stories? What's similar? What's the same? Okay? I want you to look at what's the same problem that all the story people are having, the characters. And then what's same about what God is doing in each of us? Okay? So will you pray with me? Father God, we come to you. We ask you, you are filling this place with your love, your presence. Be with me, anoint my mind, help me to remember these stories, and help everyone to hear what you would have them to hear today, to notice what you would have them to notice today, and to hear what you would like to say to their souls. In Jesus' name, amen. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He created the waters and the land. He created every plant-bearing seed and every tree bearing fruit. He created the animals, the fishes in the sea, and the beasts of the field, and the birds of the air. And he created humans, our ancestors. He created them male and female. He created Adam and Eve. And he saw all that he created, and he said it was good. Then he took Adam and Eve, and he placed them in the garden. And he said, this is my gift. The earth is my gift. This garden is my gift. This soil is my gift. Take care of it for me. Take care of the plants and the animals. Take care of the fishes and the trees. Take care of the earth and all that is in it. And God said, it is not good for human beings to be alone. So he said, work together. Take care of the earth together. Love Love one another. Forgive one another. And then God, in his infinite wisdom, commanded them, I am giving you all of the plants on the earth. I am giving you all of the trees in the garden. This is for your food. But there is one tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Of this tree in the middle of the garden, you must not eat. For if you eat it, on that day, you will surely die. Now the serpent was the craftiest of all beasts of the field. And he said to Eve, surely God has said you can't eat from any of the trees. But Eve said, no. God said we may eat of all of the trees of the garden, but we may not eat of the tree in the middle of the garden. We shall not even touch it. For if we do, we will die. And the serpent said to her, surely you will not die. God knows that if you eat of this tree, your eyes will be open, and you will be like him, knowing good and evil. So Eve, she looked at that tree. She saw that it had good fruit on it, good to eat. And she saw that it was delightful to look at, and it could make her wise. So she ate of the fruit, and she ate. And then she gave some to Adam, and he ate it too. And then their eyes were open, and they saw that they were naked. So they quickly sewed some fig leaves together and made a loincloth. Then they heard God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. So they hid themselves from his presence. But God called out to Adam, 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 where are you? And Adam said, I heard you walking in the garden, and I was afraid. I'm naked, so I'm hiding. And God thought about it. Who told you that you were naked? Adam, have you eaten from the tree in the middle of the garden? Eve gave me some fruit and I ate. And God said to Eve, what have you done? And Eve said, the serpent deceived me, and I ate the fruit. So So God said to the serpent, because you have done this, you will spend your days on your stomach. You will eat dust as you go. All of the days of your life. And then to Eve, God said, I will greatly increase the pain in childbirth. When you bring forth your children, you will have pain. And your desire will be contrary to your husband's. And he will rule over you. And then to Adam, he said, because you have disregarded my command, you are cursed from the ground. You are cursed from the ground that I gave you. In pain, you will bring forth your food. In pain, you will eat the bread by the sweat of your brow all the days of your life. And then you will return to the ground from which you came. For you are dust, and to dust you will return. And then God said to the heavenly host, we must prevent them from eating from the tree of life. For if they eat, they will live forever. So God made Adam and Eve. Oh no. First he made them clothes. First, God still cares about Adam and Eve. So he made them clothes of animal skins. He clothed them. And then he said, you must go out of the garden. And he set cherubim and a flaming sword at the east entrance. And the sword turned all directions to protect the way from the tree of life. They would have to work this ground, but the curse would make it grow thistles and thorns. It would be more painful for them than God ever intended. I forgot something. Now, Adam had intercourse with Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have produced a son with the help of the Lord. Next, she bore his brother Abel. Now Abel was the keeper of the sheep, and Cain was the tiller of the ground. And over the course of time, Cain brought an offering of the first fruits of his work to God. And Abel, for his part, brought the firstlings of his flock, their fat portions, and offered it to the Lord. Now the Lord he had regard for Abel's offering. But for Cain's offering, he had no regard. So Cain became angry, and his countenance fell. And God, he said to Cain, "Why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? But if you do poorly, sin is lurking at the door. Its desire is for you. You must master it." And Cain, he ignored the gift of guidance that God had given. So he said to Abel, "Come out to the field." And they went. And when they got to the field, Cain rose up against his brother and killed him. Then God, he asked Cain, "Cain, where's your brother?" And Cain, he said, "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" And God said to Cain, "What have you done?" Listen. "The blood of your brother is crying out to me from the ground." The ground. The ground that I gave to you. Cain, you are cursed from the ground. It has opened itself up to receive your brother's blood. It will no longer yield to you its strength. Cain, you will be a fugitive and a wanderer on this earth. And Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is too great for me to bear. You are casting me from the soil. I will be out of your presence. And anyone who comes in contact with me could kill me." God, he still loved Cain. He still cared for Cain. So he said to Cain, "Not so. Not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer a sevenfold vengeance." And then God put a mark on Cain's forehead so that no one would kill him if they came to him. And Cain had to leave. So he left the Garden of Eden and he went and settled in the land of Nod, east of the garden. Now, we are going a few generations ahead. We're going to the time of Abraham. Many of you are probably familiar. Many of you are probably familiar with the story of Abraham. So God called Abraham. And he said, Abraham, leave your country. Leave your extended family. Leave the house of your father. And travel. I am going to give you a promised land. The land of Canaan. I will make you a great nation. That's my gift to you. And this nation will grow up to be a blessing to all nations on the earth. So Abraham, he went as God said. And Lot, his nephew, went with him. So after some time, Abraham became rich in livestock and in herds, in silver and in gold. And Lot had livestock and herds and flocks and tents. They had so much that at one point the ground could not support both of them. So they decided to part company. Abraham, he settled in Canaan. And Lot settled in the valley and the cities near the Jordan River in Sodom, as far as Sodom. Now the people in Sodom were wicked. And at some point, God had a conversation with Abraham and said, Abraham, these people in Sodom are so wicked, I'm going to destroy their cities. And Abraham said, but Lot lives in Sodom. Lot is not a wicked man. You must save Lot. Time passed. And 2 angels were sent from heaven to talk to Lot. And they told Lot, God is going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah and all of the plains around it. You must take your family and you must flee. Now Lot, he had some sons-in-laws who were promised to be married to his daughters. So he went out in the city and found them and said, you must leave now. God is going to destroy the city. Flee. But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. When the dawn was coming, the 2 angels came back to Lot and said, you must leave now. Hurry, take your wife, take your daughters, and go. God is going to destroy the city now. And if you don't leave, you will be swept away. So the angels grabbed him and his wife and his 2 kids, their hands, and rushed them out. And when they got out of the city, the men said, "Go to the mountains, flee to the mountains. Don't look back. Flee. Get out of here now." But Lot, "Please, sirs, you have found favor with me. You have shown great kindness in sparing my life. But sirs, I cannot flee to the mountains. I am too slow. This tragedy will catch up and overtake me, and I will die." There's a small town. It's ever so small. Let me go there. It's so small. And then my life will be spared. And one of the angels said to Lot, "I will grant you your request, but go now. Go fast. I will not destroy that town that you speak of. But you must go there now, because I cannot do anything. I cannot do anything until you reach that town." And so Lot and his family went. And when they got there, by the time they got there, the sun had risen over the land. And God rained sulfur on the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah and all of the plains. But God remembered his promise to Abraham to make him and his family a great nation. And Abraham had prayed and asked, save Saul, save Saul. And the angels and God took Saul and his family and took care of them as a gift. And they took him and they brought them to safety. God still cared. The word of the Lord for the people of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Alive to me over these last couple of weeks because I had to learn about gratefulness. And I thought these are pretty strange stories to teach gratefulness. What did you see in common with these 4 stories? What was happening? What's in common?
Yeah, 10. I got one.
God loved them.
God loved them. How did God love them?
Well, in spite of all their little faux pas, I can't judge how God loves you, just.
He did something for each one of them.
Yeah.
So for Adam and Eve, go ahead, please.
Every time God had blessed them in every story, it was never good enough, and they wanted more. And by wanting more and getting greedy, they wound up being a penalty. Instead of being happy and content with what they had.
But no matter the penalty, God always shows.
And how did he do that?
What is he doing?
How did God do that?
By clothing Adam and Eve before he made them leave. By saying that no one could kill Cain, and by sparing a family in a town that he was going to destroy.
This is me.
That's right.
I heard that the punishment was always very severe.
punishment was extremely painful. And yet, after the punishment was pronounced, God gave a way to take care of each person. So,
The serpent in the Garden of Eden talked Adam and Eve, well, actually talked Eve into it first, that they would become more powerful if they would have partaken of that fruit. And that was how the serpent was able to talk her into that, talking her into it, actually convincing her that she's going to become more powerful than God himself.
it was the deception was to get them to doubt God's word, and then to see that what they didn't have could benefit them in some way, as well as tempt them with, I have to say it, I want God's wisdom, right? I want God's wisdom. But there are some things that God gives us his wisdom, but sometimes there's more. God is so much more than that. We can't have all of his wisdom. And so God asks us to live on God's terms instead of on ours. Right? Anybody else? No. Yeah. I know, and I'm having a hard time with that. I really want to go to her side, and I want to pray with her. I didn't mean to make her cry. And that's one thing that I will say.
They told the story that well. She was actually moved by it. She was moved to tears. It was that good.
Yes, but I hope, I did not mean, I'm learning how to do this. I did not mean to emphasize the severity of the punishment so much. I wanted to emphasize God's care for us, even when we fall. Even when we fall short. God is always there. God clothed Adam and Eve, they fell. They disobeyed God. But God still loved them and cared for them. And their way, their life was made harder by their mistakes. And God never intended that. But God was saying, I'm going to be there. I'm still going to care for you. Even though what you've done has made things a little bit worse.
Well, I think the difficulty is the severity. I think the difficulty is the severity of punishment. We don't see how other people are being punished. We see some people and we think they're getting all this stuff. Why aren't they getting punished? And we're hearing all this punishment. So in our world today, it doesn't appear that some people are receiving punishment.
Right.
But we might be, and it makes it hard, it makes it feel hard.
Well, and you know what? That's the crux of the matter. So, let's do some contextual work here. In the ancient days, they saw God interacting in a binary fashion. So their wisdom, the way that they understood God the best that they could, was to see that God's so good. He rewards those who obey him, who love him. And in their ancient minds, the way that they understood God and the way that they understood science, right, was to think that all weather and fire and anything that happened to the world was God's punishment if it was bad. So the ancient people, they had this dualistic thing going on. So if you loved God and you obeyed God, God rewarded you. But if you didn't love God and you disobeyed God, then the ancient people said God punished you. Now there's two systems of wisdom in the Bible. One system says he rewards those who do good and he punishes those that do bad. However, we have 3 wisdom books in the Bible. They are all attributed to, well, Job is one of the books, a very, very ancient story. They think that Job was probably telling stories from like 1300 BCE. And then we have the Wisdom of Solomon and Ecclesiastes. And if you read these stories, they challenge this system of rewards and punishment. Now, they think that the system of rewards and punishment came from the royalists, the people involved with ruling the people. And so any government will set up, you follow my rules and you'll do fine. If you break my rules, my laws, you won't do well. But in Job, especially, we're told Job is a man that was blameless and he loved God and he had this great relationship with God. But all of a sudden, Job loses everything. Job loses his family, he loses his house, he loses his riches, he loses everything. And yet, the story says that Job did nothing wrong. Job did nothing wrong. So here's the second school of wisdom. And it's looking at life and it's saying, wait a minute. There are good people that bad things happen to. And then there are bad people that seem to prosper. Right? So this wisdom comes after the time of the Babylonian exile, where Israel has been destroyed by the Assyrians and Judah has been destroyed by the Babylonians. And so they're finding themselves in exile away from Israel, their home. Their temple has been destroyed, the palace has been destroyed, and now they're living somewhere in Mesopotamia. And all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute. God, sometimes bad things happen to good people. And sometimes good things happen to bad people. So what's the deal here? And the story of Job deals with it. And he has a big conversation with God and says, wait a minute, I did not deserve this. Right? God doesn't answer his questions. What God does is he shows him that God is God. And that God has everybody in his hands. And God is still working for everybody's good. Okay? So God, these stories of ancient times are meant to say, the punishment thing is kind of severe. You're absolutely right. But God, the ancient stories are meant to say, despite your falling, no matter how you fall, no matter how low you fall, no matter what you do, you could murder someone. But God is still there. He's going to care and he's going to love.
I don't believe necessarily that Adam and Eve were even punished. I believe that they were like immortal or enlightened or quasi-immortal beings when they partook of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. They just reduced themselves from being in direct communication because God used to walk with Adam in the dew of the morning when all the animals were asleep and Jesus hadn't even come yet. This is like Old Testament.
They lost their favor.
And there is no new covenant. This is Old Covenant. Genesis covenant, beginning of everything covenant. And they didn't actually, in my opinion, get punished. They just got reduced from being this enlightened, quasi-enlightened, immortal being down to being mortal like us. From disobeying.
There are consequences for your actions. And you overlook something and see things as too harsh. If I stick my hand in a fire and I get burned, it's not God punishing me. It's a natural consequence of that action.
Yes.
And we often don't even see how many times He protects us from those consequences.
Yes.
And if you have the honor and the pleasure of being able to walk with the creator of the universe in the garden every morning and talk about the secrets of the universe on a daily basis, and you disobey the one one and only thing not to do. You just reduced yourself from having that relationship down to being a mortal person, and that's why you're gonna till the earth now.
Well, the good news.
Let's get the good news out there.
Is that Jesus allows us to shed our shame for whatever we've done.
The good news is we have a new covenant. However, even in the old covenant, God intended to bless people with the earth and the garden. And he wanted us to enjoy it. I forgot a lot of my lines, so I forgot that part about enjoying. Sorry. But even to this day, God is here to bless us and to forgive us and to help us pull our lives back together once we do fall. And that's the gospel.
Thank you.